For all you big buck hunters, if you're looking for an ideal base camp for hunting the big woods in the Adirondacks and Tug Hill, you've got to call our friends at Christmas & Associates. For over 35 years, they've been providing land and camps to sportsmen. 5 to 50 acres, rivers, streams, and ponds in some of the best locations. Affordable prices and in-house financing with low monthly payments. They can even build their Adirondack-style cabins on property you already own. For more information, call Christmas & Associates at 1-800-229-7843 or go to landandcamps.com or visit them on Facebook at Christmas & Associates. Take care. Welcome to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast, a Big Woods Bucks production. In this podcast, the Big Woods Bucks crew from New York sits down and discusses all things hunting and even a little fishing within the blue line. 6 million acres of old-growth forest and few roads make the Adirondacks one of the most challenging places to hunt in the country. From Iroquois and Algonquin deer drives to the early days of Adirondack guiding, the team discusses the history, legends, and lore of these ancient mountains. Along the way, the team interviews top Adirondack hunters, from well-known legends to little-known local legends, homing in on what it takes to be successful in these unforgiving woods. All right, welcome back to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast, all you legends out there. This is your host, Brian Connor, Big Woods Bucks CEO and video guy. We're here on a beautiful day. It's September 7th. We are on the banks of the Sacandaga here at my camp, and we got the usual suspects over here.
Bob Dunbar.
Mark Sheeran.
And we got an awesome guest today. We're super happy to have on. He's one of those secret legends who I have heard so much about. And we met pretty recently this summer. But it's just a great guest to have on, one that's so secret that a lot of people are like, you got Roy Hart on? People couldn't believe it. But he's here. We got him back for another one. You'll have seen him on the Big Woods Bucks podcast with Hal and Lee. And we got him now on the Adirondack Hunt Podcast, just him. We're going to ask all our questions. I'm going to let Mark do a more thorough introduction to Roy because we've known each other a long time. But again, he's somebody we're really happy to have on. Thanks for being on, Roy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I met Roy through his camp, but I was invited up to that camp. Austin and I were by Dave Williams, who has known Roy for many, many decades. And I didn't know anything about Roy, really. I had read a little bit about your family in some of Alinskis's books and things like that. But there's certain people and certain situations where you just feel at home. And the reason I wanted Roy on here is because if you go to enough deer camps in your life, there are deer camps that you just don't feel comfortable at. And that's not a cut on them. It's just the culture isn't something that you match with. And I got into Roy's camp, and immediately I was like, "Oh, I'm home. This is cool. He's a cool dude." And so we're kind of kindred spirits. We hunt very similar. I would listen, and he's a hell of a still hunter and a tracker, and private. And I'm a private dude too, but now with Big Woods Bucks, it sort of exposes you a bit. So it was a strange thing, but so anyway, I love talking with Roy, and happy to have you on here. And we're going to talk deer hunting in the Adirondacks.
And quickly, just to set the stage, you hear about the Massetts a lot, but it's really the Hart Massetts. You all are first cousins with
Yes.
Jim Massett, and it was your the Massett's grandfather was the Massett's grandfather's sister was your grandfather, your great grandfather, or your grandfather's spouse, wife.
Yeah, it was my grandfather. It was my father's mom, and the Massett's mom, Tom and Jim, were brother and sister. Their father and my grandmother was brother and sister.
Got it.
So my father, which was his uncle, they started the whole thing. They started hunting together, and then it all trickled down to all of us. They were, unbelievable, the time and effort they'd put into it. Just unbelievable.
Tell us about that. Tell us about what it was like then.
Well,
you were young.
Tag closer,
Yeah.
Roy. Thanks. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I mean, I'd follow them around, and they had camps back in the Moose River Plains. It was owned by the Gould Paper Company before the state bought it. And they had a camp that they built, was 5 miles back in. They call it the halfway camp. And they had another camp that was 8.5 miles back in. That was their main camp that they hunted out of. And on a Friday night, after work, they'd drive up there, walk back into that camp, hunt for the weekend, turn around and walk out.
Jesus.
And the time and effort they put into it was unbelievable. And the last year that they had the camps, they didn't realize that Gould Paper Company sold out to the state. They didn't even tell them. So they had just built a brand new camp. They used it for one season, and the state burned them down.
So this is a camp. This is a permanent camp then. It's
a hard camp.
Wow.
Yeah, and they weren't the fanciest things, but they kept you dry and warm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can remember as a kid following them guys, walking back in after driving up there. It's dark after work. Walk in by a flashlight. Half the time you don't even use the flashlight. Walking back into those camps. I remember one time I walked in with my dad. We were going trout fishing. And we walked back into the camp, and we got back in there, and it was dark. And I told this story before, but it was just amazing. The door was laying on the ground, and there was animal crap all over inside them.
Oh my God.
And my father just swept up, cleaned up, propped the door up, and we went. There was 2 bunks in the kitchen area, and then the bunkhouse was in the back, but we stayed in the kitchen area where the door was, propped up again. Geez, I was just a kid. I was on the top bunk. And truthfully, in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, bump, I heard that door hit the floor. I tightened right up. My father was kind of hard of hearing from the war, and I kept shaking and yelling to him, Dad, there's something going on. Finally, he woke up, and he got the one flashlight, and he shined a light, and there was a big raccoon standing on the kitchen table. And my heart's going boom, boom, boom.
You're thinking it's a big bear.
Scared the hell out. Yeah, because there was a pile of bear crap right in the middle of the floor.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable. Then the next morning, we walked 3 miles more to a river, the Moose River, to fish. And I'll never forget it. There's a canoe. So he rolls the canoe over, and underneath's a thing of a roofing tar. He starts a fire, heats up the roofing tar, and patches all the holes in the canoe. We go down the river fishing, and every 200 yards you got to stop and tip it over to empty all the water out. It was amazing. But, I mean, that's the way those guys did it. I mean, him and my uncle, we called him Chemo, as in Kemosabe. His name was Ray. And those guys the work they did to hunt and fish was unbelievable. But it made it very good hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
The work
Absolutely.
they put in, you know.
Yeah. So where are you guys from? So you're not living in the Adirondacks. The Harts. You're from Syracuse area.
Yeah, the fringes.
Yeah.
Bridgeport, Central Square, the fringes of Syracuse.
So you guys are driving in, doing all this work.
Yeah.
Preseason, building cabins,
Yeah.
and that's so crazy to me. That's
Hard work. I remember, when you're a kid, you're really anxious to go. And I remember one time we went back into work on the camp, and I wanted to carry something. They gave me about a third of a roll of tar paper I had to carry on my shoulder. I never asked them to carry anything again. It was amazing. But that's what brought all this good hunting for us together, is their work and their effort.
Yeah.
In fact, the first buck I killed, I was 15, and we went back in there, and the state had bought the land, and they kept opening it up a little further. Well, there was one section, the last section that was logged, that wasn't opened up yet. So they were going to open it up closer the next year. So we walked back in 7 miles to check this area out, to check the deer hunting out, the deer sign. And 7 miles from the truck, I shot a buck. It was only a spike horn, but I was proud as a peacock.
Yeah, of course.
And the next morning, we walked all the way out. We went back in with carts, and my brother shot a buck on the way in. So we went out to the main camp where we were staying, and geez, I'm all excited. I got a buck, and we put the deer on the car. We were going to drive home the next day, and I kept propping it up so they could make sure they'd see the antlers. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to think I shot a doe. I just wanted them to see those spikes. And there was an old hermit that lived across the road. In fact, I have that cabin now. I ended up buying it over the years, and a little cabin he lived in. And in the middle of the night, he came over, and he wrapped tinfoil around the antlers, the 2 spikes, and he tied 2 big red bows on them. He said, "There, they'll see him now." They were Adirondack character. His name was Guy Delmarsh.
God.
He was
Delmarsh,
a bona fide hermit that lived there.
So this
How about-
would have been the 1960s, 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being able to talk to that dude?
Oh, I know.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things when I read about the Harts, the Massetts, talk to you guys is just how hardcore you were, and then I think your success and your renown speaks volumes to that. Like you read these Zelensky books, and it's like, oh yeah, we got up to the trailhead at 9 p.m. and then we got to the camp at 3 a.m. I'm like, oh my gosh, just the
that
next
happened,
level, taking it so seriously, and like the term hardcore hunter, if it ever applied to anybody, it's the Harts and Massetts. I just love that.
Yeah.
And so that you were hunting the 60s, 70s with that older generation then still. And I think I read in those books you were doing some pushes, drives, joint still hunts at the time.
Yeah, they called them still drives. One guy
Still
would
drives.
go in one section, the other guy'd still hunt his way. You know, and that's as close to a drive as we'd ever get.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Most of the time it was still hunting or tracking.
What
Yep.
do you prefer?
I love it all, but I mean, there's nothing better than being on a big buck track.
Yeah.
You know, whether you catch up to them or not, the things you learn, the things you see, the amazing things they do. Like I said before, they're just dumb animals, but they're intelligent dumb animals. You know,
I think you said the most intelligent dumb animal.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you are still hunting, what would be the thing that you like the most about that craft? So let's say the weather's, it's 50 out, crunchy leaves, and because a lot of people, we hear it all the time. Oh, the conditions are terrible today. I think I'll sit on the couch. I'm like, there's no bad conditions. I've shot bucks in 70-degree weather. You know what I mean? So, but let's say it's a warmer day and maybe some crunchy leaves. You'd still be out there, right?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Moving slow, looking for sign. It's always, you're thinking about the future also while you're hunting in the leaves, you're thinking about when the conditions are good too.
Yeah.
And, there's certain times of the year when the bucks are moving, and it could, any second something could happen. It's certainly not going to happen if you're on the couch. I'm sure everybody's heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What condition goes 0 to 100 in an instant?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Here, what does Hal say? 0 to hero in 3 seconds.
My father always said it only takes a second to shoot a deer,
That's right.
So those days when you guys were coming up from, I know you spend a lot of your time in Inlet now, because are you retired at this point?
Yes.
Right. Okay. What did you do for work?
I was a steam fitter,
Okay.
Oh, cool.
welder most of the time.
So were you able to take time off during the season pretty comfortably? Or?
Yeah, well, most of the time I was fortunate enough to be able to put a lot of hours in at certain times and look forward to that
Right.
2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
But, when you have a family, you can't take too much time. But I always cut out a week, a good solid week, and during the middle of November, And that was the best time, the middle of November, normally.
So you choose the middle of November over snow, because a lot of guys, like Mark said, it's all about the snow, and I think Donito and Grabowski, I think, would agree. They wait till that snow falls, and Donito says, so some years I only hunted 3 days. It's the snow,
Yeah, but there's a big difference between hunting and killing. I mean, hunting, that's the most important part.
Right.
Killing, like you've heard, is the anticlimax, you know. It's being in the woods, especially the Adirondacks. They're different.
Yep.
It's magical.
I mean, right. I have pity for the people that don't have that type of hunting. The Adirondacks, you have to go get them. You know, it's not like you're standing there waiting for them to come to you. You have to go get them, whether it's snowing, raining, or dry.
That's right.
It's the same thing.
So did you have some early experiences with that older generation, if you could think of maybe like one or two times where something like clicked for you and you got a really great lesson? Because I'd like to hear about that, because I think we all have that experience.
Yes, I'll tell you. Following my father, he told me, like when there was snow and it was crunchy, he said, try to step in my track. It's quieter. And that was a good lesson right there.
That is.
And watching them. And one thing that stuck out in my mind was because years later, I watched my uncles. I had a couple uncles, fantastic hunters, shot a lot of bucks. Then I had a couple uncles that hunted in the same areas and never did very well. And through watching them in the later years, I kind of figured out why. You know, when you're looking down, if you're always looking down for every one of your steps, there's a lot of times you're walking right by deer.
So
I noticed
true.
my father, his head was on a swivel, and he would glance down and he would figure out in advance 3 or 4 steps.
That's so important.
Yeah, I mean, and it was very important, and I saw the proof of it by hunting with my uncles that didn't, the ones that were constantly looking down where they were going to step. You have to have that sense to figure out those 3 or 4 steps, because you got to be looking, and it's a lot better to have your head up than your head down, and that makes a difference.
Yeah.
You almost got to have a good combination of both so that you're not making noise and seeing
That's
everything
right.
you got to see.
That's it. That's exactly it.
I think that you said something that is absolutely true.
Oh my God, that scared me. There's a chicken behind us.
There
It
is.
just started going. Oh my God, 10 feet from me.
That was weird.
The Adirondack Podcast with
Yeah.
chicken.
There's a chicken.
Chicken.
I think that memorizing the next 3 steps is, and then looking up.
Very important.
And you learn. I'll tell you what you learn. You'll agree with this, Roy. Is you learn to feel with your feet too. All of a
Right.
sudden, you have this little map in front of you, and these are the details that do make a difference. You have a little map of their stick there, and you're.
Oh, we always had to have these certain boots. It was called Northern Service. They were rubber pack boots, but they were really flexible and light. And I can remember I always had to get those kind of boots because you could almost feel
Yes.
the sticks, and you knew when to set your foot down.
Yes.
And that's another thing. I like following some of those guys through the woods, as it is with me now. You could see that my toe hit first.
Yes.
You know, it's like you're tiptoeing through, like you come home late at night and don't want to wake up your wife. You tiptoe.
Yes.
It's very important how you walk through the woods. And
I always said that when I tried to describe it to people, I say, try to imagine that you're naked and it's cold out and you're tipping your toe in the pool of water to see how you know, and think about how carefully you do that. And if you took every step as if you were tipping your toe into the water, and you will be silent.
Your other example I love is it's like doing Tai Chi through the woods.
8 hours of Tai Chi.
My daughter said that. We were still hunting up on Blue Mountain, on the face of Blue Mountain. And we got done after like 6 hours. We were up on the side and we had pushed some deer. And she said to me, she goes, "Dad, I'm exhausted." And I said, "I am too. I think I'm going to take a nap and you can sit and watch. I'm going to go to sleep." And I did. I actually did go to sleep. And she goes, "It's like doing Tai Chi, 6 hours." You know, she goes, "Your body is never relaxed." I said, "Yeah, eventually you get to a point where you learn to relax it a little bit, but it's still
you have
hunting."
to set your foot down.
Yeah.
You don't throw your foot down.
That's right.
Right.
Set your foot down.
I want to ask you a little more about the gear, actually, Ron, now that you mentioned the boots, because much is made of gear in the outdoor industry now, and everybody's got to have this, the super crazy space age fabric.
Yeah.
Does everything, and I'm curious And we're at Big Woods Bucks. Obviously, we sell wool. We're big about traditional wool.
That's wool.
Okay.
There's nothing better.
Got it. And is that so? So that older generation, they all just wore like wool and leather boots with rubber soles, kind of thing.
Wool, rubber boots, or the leather rubber.
The LL Bean.
LL Bean.
LL Beans,
shoe.
yeah. But wool was always number one.
Yeah.
Wool. It sheds and it holds heat even when it's wet.
That's huge.
And it's quiet. That's the main thing with me with wool. It's quiet.
Yeah.
Because you can't be too quiet, It's just that's part of the game too.
You said we gave Roy one of the new retro packs, and Roy was raving about it. So I'm excited
I can't wait to use it
too.
You're gonna love it.
I had what I considered a quiet pack, and I've used it for over 20 years, and now it's starting to fall apart. And when you guys gave it to me, I thought to myself, boy, that blinked. That is really going to be helpful.
Cool. Yeah.
Because it's wool, again. Quiet.
Yeah. And what about scents? Is that something that you ever messed with, that older generation ever messed with?
My philosophy for hunting in the Adirondacks as far as scent is as scent-free as possible. I shower in baking soda. You leave your clothes outside. When I wash my clothes, I wash in baking soda. When I bow hunt, I use some scents just here and there. But as far as the Adirondacks and hunting up here, it's scent-free. If I could be scent-free, that would make me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no cover scents, no artificial stuff, none of the gimmicks, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, anything that is foreign to a deer, they're not going to put up with it, especially a big old buck,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On the topic of big bucks, I want to ask you about that too, because I sense that, you had just told a story about a spike, and I sense it was typical Adirondack rules in those days, especially where people weren't exactly counting every tag.
I was only 15.
Exactly. The statute of limitations is run, as we like to say.
Yeah.
But did you come to a point in what was your first big buck, and did that make you want to kill big bucks? Like, when did that in your hunting career, if that happened at all? I don't know, you might still shoot small bucks.
No, I've shot some big bucks, and that's what you generally go after.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know you have, by the way. I don't know if
in my mind that's what I'm after.
Yeah,
is a big buck.
Okay.
At least a mature
When did
buck.
that change?
Yeah, when did the
switch happen?
Probably when I was about 21.
Yeah.
I shot when I was young. I got to shoot this buck. I got to shoot a buck. I got to shoot a buck. Then when I got to be in my early 20s, all of a sudden it started. I had to shoot a certain buck, not any buck. And as the years go, you get so you're a little bit more picky. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I was young, I look back at it and I feel bad about shooting some of them crotch horns and 6-pointers. I mean, the little ones, the 1.5-year old bucks.
Yeah.
When they get to be 2.5, 3.5, okay, all of a sudden they start getting, it gets different. But I remember one year, I was real confident that I was going to shoot a big buck. And my uncle and I walked back in to a tent we had. It was about 5.5 miles in. And the conditions were terrible on our way in, but when we got in, it had started snowing. In fact, we didn't even realize it was snowing until we took our flashlight out. Because, when you're walking at night, believe it or not, your eyes adjust, and you don't need a flashlight.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, and we were walking on a skid road, so walking through the woods, it might be different. You might have to take it out every once in a while. But anyway, it snowed, and I thought about it all night. I'm going to do what they're always talking about, the old timers are talking about. I'm going to find a buck track, and I'm going to. So, lo and behold, I get to a certain area, and I find a track, and it was hard to tell whether it was a. In fact, at first, it was hard to tell which direction it was going because the snow was big and fluffy.
Yeah.
Then I realized, and I'd seen how much it displaced, and geez, this is a buck. I'm going to stay on his track. So I stayed on his track, and geez, he was going along a little ridge. And there's like finger ridges in the Adirondacks,
Mm-hmm.
like to go up the mountain. And I remember my dad telling me all the time, sometimes you can circle out in front. So I see this track is going right along this one finger ridge. So I said, geez, I'm gonna circle up. I'm gonna go up on that other ridge and get up, try to get in front of him. And I went up on the other ridge, and I went right parallel to him for a while, and I cut up over the ridge, and he walked right out in front of me. It was about 118, 120-inch 8-pointer, and I shot him. Anyway, so I dressed them all out, and I said, well, I'm gonna pack them down the ridge towards one of these skid roads. So I was really into it. I was going to be one like all the old timers, and I put the deer on my back, weighed about 150 pounds, and I started carrying them. And like I said, it was fresh snow, and all the branches are full of snow and everything. Geez, and I'm heading. I said, geez, I should be getting down towards that skid road. All of a sudden I look and I go, oh, there's a track from somebody. Must be my Uncle Stoney. I thought it was him, and I said, oh, I'll backtrack him right to the... So I go and I hit the track, and gee, there's blood in the track. All of a sudden I followed it. It was my track. I had made a circle. You know, when the snow was on, sometimes when you can't see the landmarks,
Oh, sure.
you know, you can go right in the... That's what happened. I was walking in a circle with a deer on my back. Smart move.
That's a
Good
great.
to make those mistakes when you're young.
Yeah, but he was a nice buck, and I was proud as a peacock, you know. I did it. I finally got on a track and caught up to a buck.
What year would that have been?
Probably about 1969.
Got it. Wow. Yeah.
I
A
think
lot of bucks since then.
Yes. Sure.
it was 68. I was 18. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great story. I remember one time I got a buck. It was actually a buck that took me. I was in my infancy in tracking, and up on a mountain, and I went around. That buck took me all the way around, down by, over by mountain, all over down to the base of, and then but I didn't have. There was no GPS then, or I didn't have one, and I didn't know that the road was sort of diagonal, and I compassed straight line back to the road. Ended up, I went like 21 miles, but I was so exhausted that I got to a place where I put my compass away because I didn't have any blood sugar, and I started panicking. And it was a real primordial feeling, like a sick feeling. I remember having my compass and being like, no, it can't be north that way. It can't be. And then I put my compass away and I just start wandering. And then I came to my tracks, and I remember thinking, these must be Bob's tracks. And then I was like, wait a minute. I checked my Saul, and I'm like, that can't be. And then I was like, this is the shit that gets people killed.
Right. Not paying attention and not believing their compass.
That's it. And then I pulled that compass out, and the whole world, I always tell people all the time, when you get it, and I realized where my tracks were, and then the whole world shifted in my mind, and I said, I followed that compass.
Yeah.
And Bob remembers, that was the day you shot your first Adirondack buck, and we both popped out on the road 10 feet from each other.
Yeah, I'm walking down the road, and all of a sudden I hear crash, crash, crash. He just comes stumbling out. He's like, he starts walking, and I'm like 100 yards behind him, and I'm like, hey. He turns around, and he's like, ah.
See, I was raised on a compass and a topographical map, and that's still how I do it.
Me too.
That's all I use.
I want to ask you about that because I started by the time I started hunting, not let alone big woods altogether, the GPS, the Zonex, the Gaia GPS, they'd already been out. So I'd never known anything different. I always bring a map and compass just in case, and I know rudimentary map and compass skills from Boy Scouts, but like I'm always curious about those days when you just had a map and compass, like. Because I break out my Onyx all the time.
I've never used anything but them.
Is that right? So you don't even use the Onyx at all?
Never.
So how often are you? Because I whip out my phone all the time just to see where I'm at, and like how often would you keep the map and compass in your pocket so you could whip it out?
I keep my compass in my, which will be my new fanny pack.
Yeah.
I keep my compass there, and my map, and my compass.
Yeah.
You know, in my pocket or pinned.
Right.
And that's how I've done it all my life.
And so you're just whipping it out if maybe you have some question about where you're at. You're
yes,
not like
a lot of times when
okay.
tracking a deer, because you're not paying attention to ridges and stuff like that, or you're not paying attention to where you're going. You're paying attention to where he's going.
Right.
So I'll use that and try to figure out what the deal is. But
Right. So it really forced you to learn the mountain a lot better.
right,
'Cause
sometimes
think
I
I'm
hunt all
over-reliant.
day without taking
Yeah.
my compass or my map out, and then when I got to go back to my truck, I take my compass out.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, I think I didn't have any computer aided any. We didn't.
No.
And that was only 20 years ago, 22 years ago. So I think that I don't really look at my phone. Now I look at my phone with Onyx when I'm coming out a lot because I can get there quicker. I can avoid the swamp that you bump into and you're like, damn it, you know.
There's so many places I hunt where my phone won't work.
Yeah, well, with Onyx you download the map.
Download it ahead
See?
of time.
Yeah, you
See,
download everything. It's all on your
Oh,
phone.
see, I don't.
It's like having a portable map and compass all in
Yeah,
your.
my
in the
buddy
screen.
Dave Williams, he's after me all the time to do it.
You,
In fact, he was just telling me this weekend, he come up and helped me on my new place. And, yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I keep saying, yep.
Well, you can use 20% off for your elite membership on Onyx by using code BWB.
Okay,
Always an opportunity for a plug.
good move.
Yeah.
Let's ask him about the 5 hunts, and I want to have Austin in because he's going to ask some gun questions and stuff.
Yeah. So we discussed. Do you have 5 standout hunts where they stand out for whatever reason, just because they were particularly fun, or the buck taught you something interesting, or
Yeah, well, let me start with one when I was, I think I was about 20. And we had a setup. It wasn't a tent. It was a frame covered in polyethylene. And we had all our base foods and all that stuff in there. And one night, I think it was a Thursday night, my uncle and I went in. And like I said, you don't use a flashlight when you're walking on trails at night. Your eyes get used to it. But just before we dropped down to where the tent was, it was probably 40 yards away. It was clear polyethylene, so it's kind of white. But geez, I noticed, holy cripe, side of it's got a big black spot on it. I went down there and it was tore. It was tore open and a bear had gone in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the bear, he ate everything. The only thing he didn't get was our onions and potatoes that we had in the straw in our sleeping quarters. And he bit right through tin cans like you shot him with a gun. There was holes and they were tore apart. Anyway, so the next night, a few of the guys come in, so we survived. But that plan was my dad, he just lost his wife that October, my stepmother, and he was going to stay. So everybody left, and it was Monday we hunted. Then Tuesday, I went out and hunting, and I actually jumped this buck 3 different times. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the tent, and I'm going to get my father because he knows his stuff, and he'll help me with this buck. So I started hoofing back. I was probably 1.5 miles from the tent. I started hoofing back, and I got to the spot where the trail drops down, and you can see well, I call it the tent. It was a polyethylene setup. I could see the smoke coming out of the chimney, and you drop down, and there's a spot where we'd get our water. There was a big bowl-shaped ridge there. Being a kid, I always had this quirk about bringing my gun up and looking at that ridge. Geez, and I brought my gun up, and I swung it. Holy crap, there's a deer right there. So it took a couple of steps, and it's real steep. And big pines, I was looking through the tops of pines. Geez, I'm looking. Pretty soon, I think I seen antlers. I said, son of a gun, it's a buck. So being a kid, you're in a big hurry. I shot. I must have hit a tree or something. And the deer ran to the top of the ridge. And I dropped my gun down. And holy cripe, it was at about a 23-inch spread. Monster buck. So I brought my gun up, and I had breathed on the scope, and it was all foggy. But I got his image. Luckily, the background was clear. And I got his image in there, and I dropped down. Boom, whop, down he went. Slid down the ridge. Anyway, my father come running out around the corner, and it was a big 10-pointer. Oh, I was tickled. So we take it and we hang it up. And he was, like I said, he lost his wife that October, and he was selling his house. So he asked me to go out and find out if the closing went through on his house. So I took what we have, a deer cart with bicycle wheels, and I put my gun in there in the case and strapped it down, and I walked out. It's almost 6 miles to the truck, drove 23 miles to inlet, found out the closing was going through in 2 days, bought a case of beer, went back, drove all the way back in, walked all the way back in. I got to the tent at around 8-ish. And so I went in there, and I took the cart, and I wheeled it right up to the wood pile so it wouldn't tip, because my gun was in it. And I went in there, and I grabbed a beer. My dad's laying there in his underwear, and I could tell he wasn't doing well. He was he was sad, you know. He wouldn't have a beer with me, so I had 2 beers in a hurry. I was going to be a hero, you know. I'm a kid. I got this beautiful buck out there, you know. So after being there for a few minutes, it had snowed. It was all fresh snow, and it just stopped snowing when I got there. So I went outside to look at the deer. Geez, and I heard a little noise off to my right, and I shined my light. Right there's a big bear. It's laying there. Holy Christmas. First thing I did was turn the light off. I didn't want to give him anything to zero in on. And I went in there, and I said, Dad, there's a bear outside. I had to say it 3 times before he heard me. It was hard of hearing from the war. And he sat up, and he said, oh, you're full of shit. And he laid right back down. I said, Dad, I'm serious. There's a bear out there. So he finally, okay, get your gun. I said, I can't. It's laying right next to him. So he fumbled around, and he hands me his gun and tries to hand me his gun and a bullet. And I keep saying, you're going to shoot him. We argued, you know, probably not long, but it seemed like a while. I said, I shot that buck today. You're going to shoot this bear. So we go out. And he was shorter than me, and we had polyethylene at the end. We rolled a log up so we'd pull it and would hold it kind of closed. And I pushed that open. He was right next to me, and he goes, where is he? I go, right there. And he goes, oh. And I'm telling you, when I shined my light on that bear the first time, his eyes glowed like you see an animal at night with your car. But when he stood up, his eyes were blood red. Boom! My father flattened him right out. Well, he laughed like a madman then. He never touched him till the next morning. I dressed it all out. Anyway, we took him out. Oh, one important thing is, the next morning I looked, and that bear had walked around the tent 3 times while we were in there.
Wow.
Seen him fresh tracks, right on my tracks. Anyway, we brought the bear out, and the biologist grabbed him by his flanks. He said, this bear should have weighed probably 100 pounds more than it did. And it was the same bear that broke in, and it was 15 years old. The taxidermist found a piece of metal from one of the cans in his muzzle. And that biologist said that bear would have come right in as soon as it calmed down. Good thing you did it.
Wow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was one exciting buck, one exciting day anyways.
Yeah.
In the Adirondacks.
What's the furthest you think you ever did on a hunt? Whether you got turned around or whether the buck took you way far back?
Oh,
what
gosh.
was your longest day?
I'd say 15, 16 miles.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the buck that I never caught up with. One buck in Newcomb. We hunted there a few years, and there was one area my cousin come up and he stayed with me. And he said, geez, I saw a nice buck in a certain area. So I said, okay, let's go there, and I'll make us push to you. Maybe we'll get him between us. So I told him where to go, and I happened to hit a buck track, and make a long story short, he had already gone. And I tracked the deer, and it was really windy. And I went up this ridge. Again, I circled because I knew he went up the ridge, but I wasn't going to go right where he went. I went a little down and come up the ridge, and they're about 70 yards away. There's a deer laying. I didn't even go all the way up the ridge. I got my body up, and I laid right down, and I'm looking at him. I said, geez, I don't see any antlers on that deer. Maybe it's the doe he was with. And I kept looking around. All of a sudden he turned his head, and I seen the rack. I said, holy cripe. So I put it on him, and he was just turning his head, and I shot. And my gun came back down, and he was turning. Licked his shoulder. I missed him clean. Holy jeez. Anyway, I end up shooting him. So the next day, my buddy and I go back to get him. I dressed him out and hit him. I hung him up, dragged him up a rock, tied his head off, and kicked him off the rock, and he was hanging there. Jeez, we're there. I don't have a gun. I'm going to pack the deer. He's got a gun. All of a sudden, holy Jesus, big buck bounds out in front of us, and my buddy Fred, he's pointing at him. You got a gun in your hand, shoot the darn. Anyway, it happened just like that. So now, in the back of my mind, that's a big buck I got to spend some time with. So for the next 3 years, I went there, and one way or another, I end up accidentally, or one way or another, I hit his track, but I never caught up with him. Finally, one year, I was at home, and my wife, we were engaged at the time, we weren't married. She said, "Roy, it's snowing out." Geez, in my mind, I had to be at that place the next morning, so I drove all the way up, got to the parking lot at like 2:30 in the morning, fell asleep in the truck, woke up, it's daylight, getting daylight, holy gee, I took off, I got my pack and my gun and my case, and I'm going in, and I'm walking down this skid road, beautiful conditions. Geez, I just happened to look off to my right, and there's a nice buck standing there looking at me. So I kept right on walking, and I got behind this big pine tree. I look, and he's there. I go, he's like, slid my pack off, set my gun down, slid my pack off. I look, he's still looking at me. Holy jeez, I might get a shot at this deer. I fumble around, I get a bullet, put it in the gun, ease out around, phew, and he took off. So I said, son of a gun. So anyway, in my mind, I was going to be right near where that buck, the buck I was just telling you about, where I seen him the first time. And I hit his track. It was from the morning, and you could see where he was chasing does back and forth like crazy. And it was a big swamp and a big ridge along the top. And luckily, the wind in the evening was the west prevailing wind. And I said, I'm going to go up on that ridge and watch it. Maybe he'll push them does out of that swamp. Sure enough, I'm easing along that ridge. A doe shoots out, and there he is, right behind her. Anyway, I end up shooting him. And he was 11-pointer, and he was 11 and a half years old.
Oh, wow.
And it was the same. I know it was the same buck that I tracked for 3 years. And he was a beautiful buck. I have him mounted. I don't have too many mounts because they take up a lot of room and they get dusty, but I like the European style, you know.
Yeah.
But a guy named Hardendorf did him, and he was a fantastic taxidermist, a genius. You know, he's a real artist, and it's one of the few mounts I have. My wife loves it. She made me put it in the living room. All the other ones she made me put in the garage.
How many bears have you shot over the years?
I shot 3.
Yeah.
3 bears, and the last one I shot was a welterweight, 147 pounds dressed.
Yeah.
And it was delicious.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was fantastic. I was so surprised on how good it was.
You carry it out?
I was on almost the top of Mountain.
Mm.
So, right downhill to the long lake. It was like a toboggan. I had to get out of the way sometimes for it.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Minus 33. Minus 33 is a wool and textile manufacturer based in New Hampshire that is producing top-notch merino wool base layers and socks. Layering your clothes when you're hunting the big woods is key. As we've discussed on the podcast, the conditions and distances involved in hunting the Adirondacks mean that you have to take your gear seriously. You can't afford to not have the best gear, and that's particularly true of your base layers. Minus 33 long johns should be an essential part of your gear system to keep you warm while you're out in the Adirondack backcountry. As for socks, I've tried dozens of pairs of wool socks over the years, and Minus 33 Heritage socks are by far the comfiest. If you go on the Minus 33 website, you can read about the care that they've taken to create these socks. And once you put them on, the difference is obvious. They are perfect for long days hoofing it up and down mountains in the Dacks. So get prepped for the next season now by clicking on the link in the description and getting stocked up on Minus 33 merino base layers and socks. Happy hunting! The Adirondack Hunt Podcast is brought to you in part by Seek Outside Tents. Seek Outside is an American company producing lightweight, versatile tents and titanium stoves.
The Big Woods Bucks team and their friends have hunted the Adirondacks with Seek Outside hot tents and found that it's the best way to get back into the wilderness areas and have a remote hunt. With few roads and hiking trails the only way to access the extensive backcountry of the Adirondacks, your pack needs to be as light as possible. Seek Outside's lightweight tents and stoves enable you to get back there into the most remote country and hunt mature Adirondack bucks that likely have never seen a human being. Use code BWB at checkout on SeekOutside.com and get 10% off your Seek Outside gear. Good luck on your remote hunt in the big woods.
I shot a buck right there on the north side of 7th Lake Mountain one year. It was an area my father told me to go try, Buck Creek, because he was up there and he saw quite a bit of sign. So it was the first time I hunted it, and I went up the trail about 3 miles, and it starts swinging along this big beaver opening. And I see a track went right across the foot trail I was on. Boy, that's a big track. And across the beaver swale, there was a ridge. I said, well, geez, I'm not going to go through that thick stuff. I said, I'll circle around and go up on that ridge. So I circled around and go up on the ridge, and I'm easing along. All of a sudden, I caught a movement, but it was way down to my right, and it was this deer standing up. Big buck stood up in its bed. So I turned. You don't know how much time you have. When I figured he was going to take off any second, so I didn't situate myself like I probably should have. I turned and I shot. I hit him in the shoulder. It was like 10 minutes to 9 in the morning. Anyway, I started tracking him, and like I said, I was never in this area before. I found a piece of bone. I knew just what I did. I said, this poor thing, I broke his leg. I said, well, I'm just going to push him, stay right on him, keep right on him. I'm not going to let him relax. I'm going to just keep pushing. So I started tracking him, and I tracked him till noon, and he laid down twice. And I said, I'm going to keep pushing him. So finally I got to this one spot on the ridge, and I see where the deer bounded down the ridge. And I said, well, he's down the track, kind of looking at it. And when this deer bounded, stuff flew. He was displacing a lot. He was a big animal. This thing, I said, this is dainty. This ain't the same deer. I went down about 50, 75 yards on the track before I realized I'm on the wrong track. So I turned around and went back, and I got to a spot where there was a little ledge right here, right where I saw his track last. And then there's the other track, and I'm trying to figure it out. Geez, I happen to look like that, just about eye level. I see some leaves kicked off on the top there. What he did was that ledge. He jumped right up on that ledge. Well, when he did, he tried to use that leg, and he cut an artery. Then he was done then. He laid down like 14 times in the next 3 hours. I finished him off at 4:15 in the evening in a place I'd never been before. I actually felt bad. That was, you don't like that to happen to any animal.
It's never fun.
No, you don't like that to happen to any animal. But he was a real nice buck, and he took me through. So I'm wondering if he jumped up on that ridge trying to avoid me, or if he just did it out of, you wonder how smart these intelligent these animals are. It was unbelievable that he did that to get rid of me. And did he use that other deer? Because that was the only other fresh track I saw. It was unbelievable. Just some of the things they do, are unbelievable.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I've seen many times we walking around the Adirondacks and find that you're on a deer, and you'll see them walk around a tree like 3 or 4 times, and then just explode and bound off to the side, and
you wonder.
It's like, what are they doing? Yeah. It's like they know that something's following them. They don't know what it is, but they just want to confuse whatever it is and get away.
Now, one lesson I got that tells me that sometimes staying on the track isn't the best thing. Circling. I do a lot of circling. I mean, you call it tracking a deer, but a lot of times I circle to get out in front of them. Well, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, I went up that same area, Buck Creek, and it was not even quite daylight yet, and I went up this ridge, and I seen leaves all over the snow, and I look, 2 deer were fighting. Anyway, one of them I picked a bigger track, and I tracked him, and a couple of times he laid right on wide open ridges, and luckily I was behind him so he didn't see me. But eventually, I think he knew that I was tracking him because I come to a spot where he had laid down, and he got up and he started running. So when I hunt, I take my strap off my gun and I wrap it around me to keep everything nice and tight because you like your gun in your hand.
Yep.
And I said, well, I'm going to try to get ahead of this deer. So I put my strap on and I put it over my shoulder this way. I never do that. I usually just go like that because I was going. So again, it was those finger ridges like that. And I took off and I said, I got to go further. I got to go further. So after about an hour, something told me, okay, sneak up over that ridge. I snuck up over the ridge and there he is right in front of me. Nice 10-pointer. And I shot him. Well, I dragged him down to the road. Took me about 3.5, 4 hours to get him down to the road. Then the next day, when I went back to get him, I said, I'm going to go up there and get on his track. And that deer stopped and looked at its back track 9 times. 9 different times you could stop. He must have known something was behind him because he stopped and you could see right where he turned and you could just imagine he was looking back.
Yep.
But he stopped 9 times. So that's the only reason I got in front of him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you could play that bump and chase game all day, which I hate. So
Yeah.
I know what
I know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you see those bound marks.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed over the years a lot of things people talk to us about is big woods, all these other hunting YouTube channels blowing up the woods and more people. Are there more people now than when you started back in the 60s, 70s? You think there's more people?
No, I think there's, we always hunted remote. So
Yeah.
but when they opened up that Moose River Plains, there were people all over. They had people believing there was a deer behind every tree. But I notice now it's mostly our hunters. You don't have a whole bunch of people coming up there to kill deer. Up here you have people that are up here to hunt them.
It's really love the.
I always liked it after the Southern Tier opened. Because then, you'd
Back
have a
down,
lot
yeah.
less pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Austin, you got any questions about guns and such?
Yeah,
Or anything for that matter?
I know for a long time you hunted with a semi-auto,
Yes.
and then you made the move to a bolt action.
Yeah, I told you the story about getting it by accident.
Yeah.
My brother, my brother Ray, I called him Butch. He was into firearms. I had functional firearms, a .22 shotgun and a rifle. That's all I ever had. Up until the last few years, I got people, you want to buy this, you want to buy that? Now I got guns all over the place. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But he was after me all the time. He said, boy, I got this 7mm 08. It is fantastic. It's a fantastic cartridge. Now I was using the 30-06, 180 grain. I'm thinking that's an elephant killer, So I used that for a lot of years. But then I told you the story about this. I worked for a guy. I did a job for a guy, and he come home one day. He said there's a woman at work that wants to sell this gun. Her husband won it. He's passed away, and he's never used it. He goes, it's a 7mm. I said, a 7mm Magnum? And he said, yeah, that's what I think it is. I said, how much does she want? He said, $450. So anyway, to make a long story short, it was a 7mm 08. I bought it. And I don't think I'll ever use a different gun. It's just, it's got more killing power than the 30-06 because of the speed. And it's, my 30-06 carbine, every year, take 5, 6, 7 shots to re-zero it. This one shot. I don't even have to touch it. It's just a terrific gun.
Yeah. Statistically, you're pretty good with it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I consider myself a great shot, but it made me a pretty damn good shot. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not the greatest shot in the world, but it made me shoot different, With that 30-06, I'd pull up, I'm going to get a ball and boom, boom, boom. With that bolt action, take your time, pick the right spot, and it made a difference.
I got 2 questions. I've heard a story about you that you're still working out of the same box of shells for like the last 20 bucks you shot.
That is. I just went to the 21st shot.
Yeah, right. That's amazing.
It's unbelievable, but it's not. It's not a testament to my shooting. It's a testament to that gun. It changes your whole philosophy when you know that you got a bolt action as opposed to a gun that you can shoot 5 shots one right after the other.
It's not just shooting either, but that's some serious stealth.
Well, that's the other question is how many bucks, what percentage of your bucks over the years you think you shot on the run versus walk, bed? How many you think were just a full run? You jumped them and you're squeezing shots off.
Not many. I lost a nice buck one time that I shot running, but maybe a handful. And again, they weren't full out running either. No, you try to. The main thing is to catch them flat-footed, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've shot them walking or moving, but I haven't shot too many running flat out. I shot one buck running flat out right away from me, big buck, and I lost him. He swam across the Moose River on the Adirondack League Club land.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to let him go.
There.
I wasn't going to let him go. I didn't care if it was posted or not. I wasn't going to let the deer suffer, but he got away.
Yeah. Well, the other then another question I had too was, do you practice preseason? You shooting tires or you shooting plinking with your?
No. I go to a club I belong to, and before the season, and I do some shooting. I don't know. It's all in your mind how you shoot. It's all kind of burnt right in there.
Mm-hmm.
How you shoot. I don't do a lot of practicing. No.
Maybe you mentioned it, but I missed it. What do you have for optics on there? You're running a scope on there?
Well, I had on my carbine that he was talking about. I had a Leupold gold ring high end, but this gun, I bought a Nikon Pro Staff, relatively inexpensive, and it was fantastic. And I was telling him and his dad about it. And I said, I wish I'd have bought another one, and his dad sent me one. And you know what? I got to use it because this year the gas leaked on the darn thing.
Oh, fogged up.
Yeah, fogged up. But I don't know.
Another plug. Skinner makes some amazing scopes. And
Yeah, they do.
BigWoodsBucks.com.
Skinner.
Yeah, out of
I got to try it because I got to buy a new one.
Yeah, we'll see if we can even get you.
What's your preference? 1x4, 1x6?
I've been using a 3-9, but the best scope I ever had was a Bosch & Lomb fixed 4-power with a crosshair and a post. But it didn't have adjustments in it. It was the mount. But on my 30-06, I tried to get it. The guy tried to tap it to put that mount on. He kept drilling holes, and they kept going off. He had about 4 or 5 holes in it. And he couldn't get it. I still got the mount. And that scope, I love that scope. But it just sits in my gun cabinet now.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever went up to camp with Roy. It worked out pretty good. I went up by myself, but it was just Roy and Dave that were there at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I met Roy once before. Dave I knew really well, so I was pretty comfortable the first night. We got like 6 inches of snow. And the next day I go out hunting by myself, and I ended up down like river area, and it was just a bad day. Came out of there in the dark, and I'm going back to Roy's camp, and nobody had warned me about the hill. I talked about how I put my truck off the driveway.
Yeah, and it was funny because he got right up to the top, and I was in there getting supper ready, and I was going to run out there fast and tell him, stop. I'll just give you a little bump and you'll get up to the... Well, no, he started backing down. I said, he's screwed.
Yeah.
I knew it. Backing down a hill, a slippery hill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I made it down the first time.
Yeah, right.
And I was good. I should have just called a spade a spade.
Yeah.
No, I had to
Your
go
losses.
for another run. So
Yeah.
I ended up getting it stuck, and I go up, and he's the only one in camp, and I walk in, and he looks at me and goes, That wasn't you, was it?
Yeah.
Sure
We
was.
got him. We got him.
Yeah, once all the
Luckily-
guys came back. And
Luckily, I had everything we needed, straps and come-alongs, and yeah.
I sense there's been I want to ask about the Hart Massett dynamic. I sense there's been just a really healthy, friendly competition over the years. Is that?
Oh yeah, we're cousins.
Yeah,
We all rejoice in everybody's success. You know,
that's great.
we're happy
Yeah.
when someone scores.
Yep.
In fact, I remember when I was let me think. I think I was about 16 or 17, and they always made their own wine. You know, they didn't bring beer was real heavy, so they'd make their. They called it Dago Red. Not to insult anybody, Dago Red.
Oh.
And geez, I shot a buck, and we're all sitting in the tent. Our tent is here, the Massett's tent's there, vice versa. Anyway, we're over there, and they had these old service cups. They're made for soup or drinking. They had a handle that flipped up, metal cup. So I'll never forget it. Jim, Butch Massett, pours a big cup, and everybody had some, so he sets it on the stove. It was so warm in there, he didn't have the stove going. He had it banked down. And he set that cup on the edge of the stove there. So now everybody's celebrating this, and then all of a sudden Butch looks at me and he goes, "You shot a buck today, have some." So now I'm going to be a hero and I drink this down. Next thing I remember, I'm laying in the flap of my tent down, throwing up. I never drank wine for like 10 years after that before I had a glass of wine again. That stuff was garbage. Oh, my God. I mean, we actually crushed the grapes in these big wooden vats with our feet, you know. And, oh, this is so good. Oh, yeah, it was rotten.
Did you guys pack beer into your remote camps way back in the day too?
Not a whole lot. Sometimes, like in the beginning of the season, you take what you call your base foods, all your canned goods and your potatoes and onions, and we'd get a case of beer. Or somebody get their kind, and we'd bring that back in. And that, if it didn't last the season, you just didn't have it. That's all.
Yeah.
In
fair
fact,
enough.
that's how I started drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. My buddy Freddie Hanley.
Mm-hmm.
One year it would be my turn to get all the base foods, and I'd get the kind of beer he liked, which was Pabst Blue Ribbon, and the kind of beer I liked. I think I was drinking Miller's at the time or something. And every year it was his turn. He'd just get Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah.
So finally, that's what I got used to. That was it.
Is Utica Club not a thing out in Syracuse?
Yeah,
Is it? Okay.
I drink.
I like UC's.
I don't drink a lot of beer, but I like UC and I like Pabst. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how we
Cheap-
got into beer, but
Cheap beer.
well, I know how. I asked because it's on my mind. I want one. It's only 11. What else we got to talk about? Did you ever own or get into pump rifles?
Just my shotgun.
What about levers?
Yes, I had that's what I started with, a 32 Winchester Special, model 94, lever action.
Yeah.
And my father had it. It was older than the hills, but it was beautiful. He had a sports shop in North Syracuse. And he lived up above it. And then he got out of the sports shop and he leased the place to a fireplace company. And they left one going, and it place burned. And I lost a couple of guns. I lost 4 mounts. He lost everything, though. I shouldn't even say anything because he lost everything. I can remember looking through the picture window while it was burning, and he had a doll sheep on his fireplace, above his fireplace. I remember seeing it burn.
It's gotta be
It was
the worst.
sickening.
yeah,
I love
that's
that
terrible.
meme. The meme that's been circulating. Are you on Facebook at all?
No.
There's a meme circulating on Facebook where it's like a guy, and there's a firefighter climbing up, and the guy's reaching out the window, passing his mounts down. He's like, "Thank God you're here. I'll go after my wife now."
Well, I mean, when my father's place was burning, you could hear the ammunition going off.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was a horrible thing.
One thing when we did a podcast with Jim and Tom Massett. By the way, so Jim Massett is Butch, and then your uncle's also Butch. Is that right? Was Butch just like a family?
Butch was my brother.
Your brother.
Raymond, his name was, and we called him Butch.
So they're two Butches.
Yeah, just like
confusing a
Jim
bit.
was called Butch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a family
Yeah.
nickname.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Roy, I've noticed this for me as I get older, it gets more difficult to stay on a track, or not even stay on a track, but to catch a deer, depending on what time of year it is. Is there anything specific that you do as you've gotten older to try and put yourself ahead of the deer that you didn't do when you were younger?
Well, one thing I do is I climb, and I like to hunt because a lot of times during the rut, those bucks, they'll stretch out, and I happen to run into more buck tracks that way. And another reason I climb is because if I shoot anything, it's downhill.
Right.
So that's one thing I do now that I'm older.
Sure.
It didn't make any difference before. I'd carry them uphill and drag them downhill. Now, I don't carry them as much anymore.
So you have a tendency to hunt higher.
Yeah, I always did, really. But now there's, it helps in two ways. The way I hunt, and if I do get anything, it's easier to drag them downhill.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember my question. One of the things that people on Facebook had asked us to ask Jim and Tom was whether or not they had any close calls, life-threatening experiences, scariest moments in the woods. Like, have you ever spent the night in the woods, got super turned around, anything like that comes to mind? And how you got out of it.
Well, other than that bear, I have come back. One year I hunted up at Long Lake, and I never hunted there before. And I went out anyway, and I was tracking a buck. And what happened was I looked at my watch while I was tracking this buck. It was 10 minutes after 2. And I had clipped him. I hadn't hurt him. It was just, I had clipped him to knock some hair off. And I'm tracking that deer. All of a sudden I said, geez, I've been tracking this deer for a couple hours. I got to check the time. I look, and my watch said 10 after 2. And I've been tracking the deer for about 2 hours. My watch stopped. So now I'm in a whole new area, and I'm probably 4 miles cross country to the tent. And like I said, never been there before. So I get myself all ready. I said, I know I got to go west. And it started snowing. And I'm telling you, it was snowing so hard and so heavy, I could have my flashlight right there and I couldn't even see it. And every once in a while, the flashlight would go out.
Oh.
I said, now I'm screwed. I can't even see my compass. So it's getting later and later. So I put my flashlight in my shirt. Smart to keep it, not throw it away. And every once in a while, I'd take it out and it would turn on for a bit. And I'd look at my compass. I'd turn the light off and I'd just go like this because I was in thick shit, crashing for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It happened, and it's snowing like crazy, and I'm in thick stuff, and every once in a while I had to turn the light on so I could see my compass. Turn the light on, and I'm crashing. All of a sudden, geez, walking got easy, and I'm walking and walking. I walked right out on a frozen pond.
Oh, jeez.
And I didn't realize, and it was only about that much ice on it.
Yeah.
That was about as close to losing it as I ever got. But it was amazing because I was crashing stuff, thick stuff, and all of a sudden it was easy walking. I said, "Oh, this is great." Then I realized I walked out on a pond, but on my topographical map, I realized which pond it was and which direction I had to go. And luckily, I went and I hit a trail. I got back to the camp at 11:30 at night. Everybody was worried sick about me. They were sound asleep. Yeah,
Right.
11:30 at night.
Yeah. You shot a coyote recently. You were telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Several of them right by my camp.
Was that your first? Have you seen many coyotes in the woods?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
No, not a lot. Mostly around my house, bow hunting, I see them, but
Yeah.
not up in the Adirondacks. I can probably count on one hand how many coyotes I've seen in my life of hunting up there.
Yeah.
You don't see them very often. They're pretty slick.
Yeah, they're elusive.
Yeah.
Wiley.
A lot of them, though. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I always see tracks.
especially late season.
Yeah.
Starting to yard up. When you start seeing those.
Oh
coyote
yeah,
tracks,
and
you're
they
like,
just
oh, it's
harass
on.
the heck out of deer.
Yeah.
Not only, they don't even only bother them by killing them instantly, taking them down and killing them, but they stress them out so bad that they just don't make it, especially in a rough winter like last winter.
Yeah.
Weird random question that just popped in my head, but have you ever seen a hermaphrodite deer, a doe that had antlers?
Yeah. Matter of fact, the guy shot it. There was a gang that hunted near us when we hunted near Kean's Farms called the Bruno Gang. The Horn Hunters, they call themselves. And one time up on Ice Cave Mountain, actually I didn't see it. My cousin Ronnie Evans, he's the one that saw it. He shot it. They shot it. It still had its velvet. It was a doe with antlers. They shot a 10-pointer and that doe all in this same little area, and my cousin Ronnie come upon them.
So,
It happens.
so you knew that Bruno family, the horn hunters.
Yeah.
I'd love, by the way, for the audience, I'd love to get in touch and talk to those guys if they're still.
Oh, they
around.
were good
So
guys. They were good guys.
If anybody knows how to get in touch with them, please hit me up and let me know. You got any other questions? I could go all day. I don't know. I'm just in like, do you? You want to hop back on? Come hop back on. You know what? Matter of fact, take my spot. I gotta use the facility over here.
Just make sure you're out of frame.
Hi everyone, team member Mark Sharon here. A lot of you know that I've been coaching people with addictions for more than 36 years. Well, today we have an exciting announcement to make. While Michelle and I will continue to personally coach people as we always have, we're now providing a training course for those of you out there who might want to become a certified Freedom Model coach. This new coaching certification course is available to those with established coaching practices, those who are psychologists or psychiatrists or therapists, or anyone who is looking to get into the field of helping people with addictions to solve their problem for good. If you would like to get on the applicant list, email me directly at info@thefreedommodel.org. Again, here's that email address, info@thefreedommodel.org. We look forward to your interest and potential of working together to change the way people across the world are helped with addictions. Take care. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I always like to ask this question: if there was one bit of advice, as we get older, I'm 55 now, right? So I have grandchildren. I think a lot more about the younger generation. So Roy, if you could say one bit of advice, one piece, what would be the most important thing you would want to tell to a 20-year-old about deer hunting in the Adirondacks? And maybe it's not even about deer hunting. What would you tell him from wisdom of an older hunter?
Be persistent. Try, no matter what the conditions are. That makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Like I said, you're not gonna get them by sitting on the couch. And do things at your own pace. Don't rush it.
Boy, that's a good one. That's a good one. I think I was a type of person that I think I failed mostly because I had run and gun. I really wasn't hunting. I didn't know that though. I was chasing.
Yeah.
Did you go through a phase like that?
Oh yeah, where you like leaving the tent 2 hours before daylight, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got to do things at your own pace, especially when you get older. You can't run around like a raving maniac anymore.
Yeah, for sure. And then so go at your own pace. And I think that's a huge thing. Like, figure out your own style too. I think that you mentioned a lot about cutting deer off and going off the track, and I struggle to do that. But I see the wisdom in it now. Especially you get in one of those spots where you have a valley, and the buck is on the other side, and he's going to eye spy you, and you kind of screw yourself.
Well, those finger ridges, they actually force you to do it. Sometimes you're tracking a deer down this ridge. It helps to get up above on the other ridge. They're going a certain direction. It's a doe will meander around. A buck is going somewhere.
That's right.
They got something in their mind. So if they're going parallel on one of those finger ridges, it makes sense to get out around them.
Yeah.
It's worked for me all my life. I mean, ever since I've been hunting, I remember my father saying it, how many times he circled. And I hear all these other people talking about tracking, and that's all well and good, but sometimes it pays to get off the track.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that works, and you guys, I think you would agree, even with still hunting, a lot of times you bump a buck, and I've had it where I've ran. I just get a sixth sense about where that buck is going, and you can cut him off.
You better be careful when you're running though in the woods.
Yeah.
My cousin Tommy and I both screwed up our knees. Well, he screwed his ankle up running. I screwed up my knee running. This family had a couple of horses in Newcomb. And, my knee was blown out. His ankle was blown out. So we rented the horses, and the kid followed us back with his mountain bike. We rode the horses back in because we were hobbling along. But I won't run certain areas again. I mean, it's all right if you're nice and flat. Like one year, my cousin Tommy, he was hunting this one area along 28, and he ended up getting about 3 or 4 miles from his truck. So he come out to the road, and I was going from Sagamore area, heading back to I was going to hunt. I didn't know exactly where I was going to hunt, but I know I was going to put in the last couple hours before dark, that bewitching hour, you know.
Yeah.
I'm bombing down the road, and all of a sudden I look, and here's this guy walking. I look, holy cripe, it's my cousin Tom. So I stopped. He jumps in. I said, I'll take you back to your truck. He said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to hunt. The last couple hours before dark. He says, where? I said, well, this would be a good place. He said, yeah, this is as good a place as any. So I pulled off the side of the road, and he took off. I got my stuff, started getting myself ready. All of a sudden, he whistled to me, and he's about 100 yards from me. And I look at him, he goes, letting me know there was a buck track. I said, okay. So he goes into the woods. So I put 3 shells in my gun, got myself ready, and I went right across from the truck. Holy cripe, here's this. You can see the stuff is flying. This buck is chasing this doe. Holy cripe. So I get in, I could even smell him. It was so fresh.
Yeah.
So I said, son of a gun. I start tracking. It was the same deer. I got in front of Tommy, though. I sloped him. Anyway, so I start tracking the deer, and I'm going as fast as I can because I know I'm going to catch up to this deer. And I notice he's going right along the side of 28. I mean, he's in there 150 yards, but he's going right parallel with the road. So I beat feet out to the road, and I start running down the road. I run about a quarter of a mile. I kept going and pushing myself. I'm kind of running out of breath, but I'd slow down, and I'd push myself. You know what? I kept thinking, what happens if a car comes down the road? I'm going to look like an idiot here. But no car came down the road. So, geez, I kept going, and I kept saying, a little bit further, a little bit further. Finally, I said, that's enough. I got to cut in the woods. So I went, and I cut in the woods, and I got about as far off the road as when I had last seen his track, about 150 yards. And he walked right out in front of me.
Oh, my God.
And he was in these pines that were like, it was like a shooting gallery. I was going to shoot, but I couldn't because there were all them little thick pines.
Yeah.
I had to pick a spot. I shot. He turned and went this way. I shot. He turned and went this way. And the last shot, I swear I could see the bullet hit him, and he went down. Well, when I skinned him out, what happened was the lead came out of the casing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a faulty bullet, and it was like thousands of little BBs of lead in the deer. The bullet had
Exploded.
come apart,
No kidding.
exploded.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a shooting gallery. Bing, bing, bing. My cousin Tom, he says, how'd you do? I said, not bad. I opened up the back of it. You son of a... Yeah, it was amazing. You know, just hunting, I've always said, is a lot of luck. I mean, and it is. It's a lot of luck. You can force your luck to be better by being persistent and working hard at it.
Sure.
And always be hunting. whether you're like, that's one thing that was always in my mind, and it has paid off. I'm always hunting, whether I'm just leaving the truck or just getting back to the truck. It doesn't make any difference. I'm hunting. I'm looking. And a lot of times, when you least expect it, holy geez, I just left my truck. How many people would think, oh, geez, I'm going to see a buck right when I leave the truck? You're not. But be hunting. Be aware that it could happen anywhere. That's another good piece of advice, because I've seen it happen so many times where you let your guard down. You let your receiver slam forward. When you leave the truck,
Yes.
shut your door quietly.
Yes.
Be inconspicuous as you can.
Yes. Hedge all the odds in your direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Make all the odds in your direction, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think me and Bob and, now Austin, he's been hunting with me his whole life. And I've said that same thing when you're young, at least in my case. I can't tell you the amount of times that I would be hunting. And then I'd just be like, whew, it's been a long day. And as soon as I say,
Let your guard down.
they appear.
Yep. It's like magic.
They appear.
It's like magic. Yeah.
And you're like, I can't believe I just blew it.
Yeah.
I almost think it's metaphysics because, I would be in the Adirondacks. That would happen constantly to me. And I did have to learn to hunt till dark in those woods. And
Yeah.
because there's a paranoia you get when you're first starting out.
Right. And a lot of people, oh, geez, it's dark. It's dark. Yeah. But, north is still north and south is still south, even if it's dark,
The woods doesn't change its
You're right.
shape when
Doesn't
it gets
change
dark.
a bit.
So I have a story that you might identify with. I was listening to you from the porch there earlier, and I shot a really nice buck in Maine years and years ago. And I was down in a valley, and Bob had gone to the truck, and my phone died. I had left my map in the car. I'd never done that before. This was the only time I've ever left my map. My compass didn't have, now they make compasses where you can see the dial in the dark.
Yeah, that's what
Glow in the
happened to
dark.
me.
Yeah. I was hearing your story. And so I had no map. I couldn't see, and it was blizzarding, and there was like 2-3 feet of snow. You remember it was.
Yeah, well, that was.
Oh, that's
I had
rough.
gone to the truck to get the truck. I said, I'll meet you out at the snowmobile trail. And he didn't come out. And I'm like, he should be out here by now.
Yeah, and Bob didn't know that my phone was dead. I didn't have a map, and I just was ill prepared. And I'm the prepared guy. So I got this buck. I'm dragging, and I'm not dragging. I mean, it was 3 feet. It was up to here all week. Terrible, just blizzard.
Wow.
And it was the last hour of the last muzzleloader season. I shot that buck running, beautiful 8, and I'm dragging him by. There's so much snow that I get the antlers and I let myself fall into the snow, and then I
Yeah.
stand back up, fall into the snow.
I can relate.
And I was so tired. And then I realized, oh my God, I don't know where the highway is. I'm in a valley. I'm in a swamp, big boreal swamp, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna. The one thing I can do is I can make sure that my tracks stay the same. So what I was doing was I was dragging, and then I'd kind of feel around in the snow, make sure that I was keeping the same direction going. And so I just kept doing that. I'd set like my jacket down, and I'd go touch my jacket, and then I go, okay, I got to go this direction. And at one point, I look and I saw a dot of light form and go away. And I was like, that was a car. That's 201.
Yes.
You want to talk relief
Yes.
at that point. And I said to myself, oh shit, did I just see that? Am I imagining this? And then I realized I have to be able to see exactly that path for the light to reach me. So I just sat there, staring.
See it again,
And
please.
it's not like there's 4,000 cars in Maine on
Right.
201 in a blizzard.
Right.
So I sat there for like 20 minutes shivering, and then I saw another light. And I was like,
Thank God.
yes. And I just happened to get at the top of the hill enough to see the highway. But
Yeah, and boy, what a relief.
yeah, that was the scariest. Besides going through the ice once, that was the scariest time I had in the woods. But
Yeah, that deal with me. It was amazing when I got back and all the lights were out. Everybody was sound asleep. They even drank my beer.
well, that's probably a testament to the fact that they're woodsmen and they trusted that you
Yeah,
could get
yeah,
out.
they knew I'd make it
Yeah.
sooner or later.
So I did have another question about the old days. So, was it different? Were there more deer? With the coyote coming in the 70s?
Gosh, there was, when they did the logging, there was a lot more deer. And we, like I told you, we always remote hunted. We'd have tents. One thing, I had an uncle that I was very, very close to. His name was Richard Hart. And he had a heart attack. Then he had another one, so he couldn't hunt. He couldn't hunt out of the remote. We hunted out of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And geez, all of a sudden I realized, holy cripe, I'm better off hunting out of the camp. Because we'd go back in and we'd Massett's tent and our tent. There'd be 10 of us hunting this one area that you had to hunt by foot. And pretty soon, holy cripe, we killed all the deer. Right. And we're back here now. Whereas hunting out of that camp now, you can go here, you can go there, you can go to the other place.
Right.
You know, you got a lot more area you can hunt. And that's one thing. I like hunting out of the camp now. It's nice. I like the tent style, but like I said, hunting out of the camp, you got more places to roam to.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So for the audience, so you're talking about the camp, your stationary camp in town.
Yeah.
And now you can drive to different locations and pick your spots. And
you can also hunt right out of the camp. I mean,
that's true. You can.
Like there's certain times of the year when there's hardly anybody up there, and you got the whole woods to yourself. And it's all about just stumbling into one. You got to go out there till you find a track, or still hunting. That's fun too. Just easing along in the woods, taking in everything.
Yeah.
Loving the Adirondacks, the nature.
So when you still hunt, do you still hunt dark to dark, just like you would?
Oh
yeah.
Yep, daylight till dark.
And you don't get bored. I hear people say, "Oh, I get so bored."
No, I never get bored.
They're not taking in the sights.
No, it doesn't make sense that you get bored.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are you going to watch television? you know?
Well, I wouldn't be that awful surprised. I mean, nowadays, if you get within cell range of something, you could whip out your phone and watch,
Yeah, YouTube.
YouTube.
Leave the phone home at that point.
Well, YouTube how to track a buck.
I've been fortunate. I've been surrounded. I mean, I was brought up by people that hardcore. They worked hard at it. And my wife's been very supportive, too. That's another thing.
Yeah.
She likes it, and I have a mother-in-law that's almost 99 years old.
Wow.
She's got 5 of my European mounts on her wall down in Florida. And my sister-in-law, she's 10 years older than my wife, she's got like 8 or 10 of them on her wall. They love it. My mother-in-law, I gave her this great big buck I killed one time. It didn't mean much to me because I was sitting in my truck eating lunch. And the doe ran across the road, and it was right behind her. And I ran out. I forgot my jacket. I had one bullet in my gun. Run out there, and I shot it. So it didn't mean that much to me. Right. It wasn't like, I don't know. It's just different. Yeah. Like I always say, there's a difference between hunting and killing. Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I brought that down for, I think it was like her 95th birthday or something like that, 93rd birthday. I can't remember. Got a great memory, but it's short. It was her mid-90th birthday, something like that. And I wrapped it up, and I gave it to her. You'd have thought I gave her $1 million. She was so happy. As soon as we got to her house, oh, you got to put it up on the wall. I mean, she's got them all plastered all over her wall. She loves it.
Well, maybe that's why that buck showed up.
Yeah, maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all about us.
Because if I hunted it and tracked it down and killed it, I probably wouldn't have given it to her.
Right. Right.
Something serendipitous about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'll keep going with the questions, guys, because we won't have this guy very often. So just jump in if you have something. Cut me off.
Well, I have a question. Ray or Roy, you say you bow hunt. I mean, you bow hunt southern zone, you bow hunt.
Yeah, well, I found over the years that bow hunting is best done local because you can be there in the morning, you can be there at night. And when I was working, I would be there in the morning and be there at night and work during the day. So bow hunting is, to me, I've shot some nice bucks with my bow, fortunately, by luck. But to me, it's meat in the freezer when I bow hunt.
That's how I do the same thing. When bow season's on me,
Yeah.
it's just sticking some meat in the freezer time.
Yeah, that's the important part. I mean, bow hunting is fantastic. It's so relaxing, standing up in a tree. I don't use permanent stands. I always use the climbers, and it's getting rougher and rougher.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes
for
I
sure.
stand up there shivering, standing straight up. I don't have a chair or something. My wife did buy me one of those Cadillac climbers, but it's so, like I was saying earlier, I use my kayak and I go up and down the river, and my little climber, it's yay wide and yay deep, that fits perfectly in my kayak, so I use that. Sometimes I take that big one, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is comfortable, but it's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
work.
they're like a chaise lounge.
Yeah, it is. Sitting down is different, My little Mighty Might climber that I have, you got to stand in it. You can't sit. But like I said, bow hunting is for filling the freezer.
Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking about my first time at his camp. How was
yeah.
your first time at his camp?
Yeah, and you made him sleep out. I was puffed.
Oh, that's right. I
it's
forgot
tough.
about that. I forgot
You
about
made him sleep out there by the wood stove, and it was about 975 degrees.
I told him there was a bed in the bunk room.
Yeah,
He's
boy, I
like,
was-
no, it's fine. I'm
I
like,
was
okay.
puffed. I wanted you to be comfortable. For crying out loud.
Well, yeah, let me tell that story a bit. So when you come into somebody's camp, you don't know what the rules are. You don't know what the personalities are. You don't know what you're supposed to do.
True.
So you're nervous, And Austin's like, no, dude, they don't care. They're good guys. And I'm like, I'm not. I remember I rolled in late.
Yeah, you showed up late. It was just me and Skylar hanging out at the table.
Yeah.
That's right. And drinking beers, and so I walk in, and I think Roy must have been in bed already.
Everybody
sure.
was. It was just me and Skylar.
Right. So I showed up late. That's right. And I'm thinking I'm not just going to walk into where they have the dorm room, basically. It's all the beds, and wake everybody up. And they're going to be like, who is this dude? What an ass.
We wouldn't have
So
cared.
I know. Well, now I know that, right? So I'm on this little love seat that's like 3 feet wide.
My God.
So my legs are hanging off the end, and it really was like 100.
Horrible.
104. So I'm desperately trying to sleep, and I'm just falling out. And then Roy comes out to make breakfast.
4 o'clock in the morning, I
Right.
come out, and there he is, scrunched straight up on that thing. Oh,
And he's like, what the bleep are you doing there? And at first I thought he was pissed off. And then I realized, oh, no, he's being kind. He's like, what? Why didn't you come in and take a bed? But it was probably 100, 103.
oh my
105
God, it
degrees.
was horrible.
It
I
gets
don't know
so
how
hot
you
in
could
that
stand
room.
it. Yeah.
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 I laughed because I just hear some rustling and I just hear Roy going off at like 4 in the morning. I just rolled over laughing.
He couldn't believe it. Yeah, that was a rough day of hunting because I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those days.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's important is you gotta be rested. You go. A lot of times they come up and I always like the guys that they come up and they hunt right away, because then they come back to camp and they're too tired to stay up all night hooting and hollering, and it becomes a cycle.
Right.
You hunt all day, you're tired, you go to sleep. You get up in the morning, you hunt all day. When they come up in the middle of the evening on a Friday and sit there playing cards, it screws up everything.
Oh, my God.
You don't want that to happen. You want to get in that cycle where you get that rest, because the next day, like, you're kind of in a fog.
Oh, yeah.
Your sharpness is gone.
Well, I've had those bouts of insomnia where you're like, oh, I can't wait to go hunting. Can't wait to go hunting.
Oh yeah, that
Hunting.
happens
And
too.
you're like, your eyes are open.
You wake up, you're like, what time is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's 2.
that happens too. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm at a spot now where I nap in the woods. I'm not shitting you. If
Really?
Oh yeah, I'll get.
Oh, not that I haven't done it, but it's hard to do.
Yeah, if I'm so tired, because I'll wear myself out. Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just go and then finally I'm just like, I'm stumbling. I'm exhausted, and I just lay down on the ground and go to sleep.
Oh, that's something. I've cleared myself off on a nice sunny spot before and dozed off.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember one year, a few years ago, my Uncle Ken, he followed me up this one area I hunted, and I didn't know it. And I came up to a rut bed, and it was fairly fresh. I started tracking this deer. To make a long story short, it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. I've been tracking this deer for a long time, and all of a sudden I heard it jump up and blow at me, and boy, I could tell it was a big buck, that big, deep-throated blow about 3 or 4 times. All of a sudden, about 30 seconds later, boom! I go, I'll bet you I pushed that buck to some flunk that came up off of Route 28. So I started easing along the track. I looked down there, and I did. It was my uncle. And that's just what he did. He followed me up, and it was about noonish, and it was nice and sunny and warm, and he laid down right next to that, or leaned up right next to that rut bed, and that deer ran right into him.
Oh, my God.
And it took me like about 3 years to figure it out, because I said to him, we were telling the stories, and I told that story. And I said, yeah, and you were down there. I said, you hear that deer blow? No, I never heard the deer blow. I go, you were sleeping, weren't you? And then he admitted it. And it was I'm telling you, it had an 18-inch spread. It was about that big around, only had 4 points. 2 on each side.
Really?
It was a big old buck. Yeah. Oh, that deer was big. And it was only a 4-pointer. Yeah. And it took about 2 or 3 years before I finally cornered him, and he admitted he was sound asleep.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that 4-pointer. And in Maine, we've seen that where you'll have a 220-pound buck, an old 5 to 10-year-old, and there'll be a spike, like
that's amazing.
15-inch spikes.
Wow.
Or a 4-corner, just a weird little rack. There's quite a bit of that up there.
Yeah, I found some sheds that were really peculiar.
Yeah.
Like thick.
Yeah.
All the way, for a good 10, 12 inches. No tines on it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny you say you found sheds. I've been hunting up here since, let me see, shot my first buck up here in 1965, and I have never found a shed up here.
You know why?
Seriously.
You know why?
Because you don't look at the ground.
That's right.
That's why.
That's why.
That's exactly why.
I found a shed a couple years ago. I was coming out. It was dark, and I had to look at the ground, right? And I'm walking along, and I see this. The moon was out, and I see this brilliant white thing on the ground that looks like a branch, and I'm like, but
different.
No other branches
looked like
everything
that.
else was gray, and I'm like, is that a shed? And sure enough, it was partially covered with leaves. I took it out, shook it out. It was like a half a 10.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's cool to find them. I found several of them when I hunted northeast Ontario. Found quite a few of them, even a moose shed. But I never seen one in the Adirondacks.
When I hunted with Hal years ago, going back 20 years ago up in Maine, shed hunting wasn't a thing yet. So we would be walking, we'd be tripping on, moose sheds were everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd literally trip on them. Because
they're cool.
Yeah, they were just everywhere.
I got to tell you a funny story about sheds. I had 38 acres of land. It was all woods. Nice, actually good bow hunting out in West Monroe. So one day my wife says, well, geez, I'd like to see it a little bit better and check it all out. I said, come on, we'll go for a walk. We'll check it all out. So we get there, and I had built I guess you'd call it a driveway. It's probably about 200 yards long. And it went out into the woods. And, geez, we get there. And we're going to go to the edge. And I look, and here comes a guy walking down our driveway. Oh, hi. How you doing? He says, oh, I'm just looking for sheds. Now, my wife's standing there, and she's, what's this guy doing on our land? It wasn't posted. We don't post it.
Right.
But anyway, she's wondering. And the guy, yeah, well, I'm just out looking for sheds. So I didn't think much of it. Oh, yeah, okay. So we look at everything. All of a sudden, we get out to she goes, Roy, who would be building sheds on our land? I almost died. Oh,
That's
who would be building sheds on our land?
That's awesome.
Yeah. But boy, that was over the years, that little section there, my brother-in-law, he hunted there. He put up a tree stand. That's how he hunted. He shot one buck one year. I think it scored 156.
Oh, wow.
Sitting in that tree stand, you know. I seen a few. I shot a nice 8-pointer once with my bow there, but I never really gun hunted there much. And he hunts there all the time. Used to hunt there, and he shot some nice bucks. Just that one little section, like 38 acres or 40 acres or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask one last question, and then we can probably wrap this up. What do you do to prepare for the season physically? Anything, or do you just stay in shape?
Well, I'm pretty active most of the time, and there was a period of time where I always ran or got myself in shape. But right now it's like it's getting so I'm in good shape about the middle of the season because I don't spend as much time at it. I know a lot of that brook trout fishing when you're hiking and stuff like that, carrying a canoe, that gets you in shape. But the last few years I've been working on that place, so I've been kind of stationary. I haven't been out walking as much. So you don't get into good shape until the middle of the season.
Okay. All right. Bob, you have anything? We good?
No, I think we're good.
This is awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming out and talking and giving some wisdom to the younger people out there.
Yeah, I'd like to help some of those young hunters.
No, viewers appreciate it.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Especially here in the Adirondacks, it's a whole different ball game.
No,
like
for
I
sure.
said, the bow hunting is for killing, and up here is for hunting. And you got to go get them. You can't, there aren't too many places where they come to you up here. You gotta go get them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue to end. All right, everybody. Take care.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks for tuning in to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast. You can find more episodes at bigwoodsbucks.com. Check out bigwoodsbucks.com for the latest gear, including our famous American-made wool hunting jackets, wool hunting fanny packs, and wool hunting pants, along with books, tracking guides, and logo wear. See you next time.